Hello, professors and colleagues. Good evening. My presentation tonight is about academic writing and rhetorical communication in the primary level. Welcome. Writing is not just about communicating content in a text, but also the representation and communication itself in context. It's a technology that's been used by humans for expressing utterances in a sociocultural setting that impacts society. In this presentation, I am going to explain the grounds and major theories about writing and the intentions to use the symbolic argument, the social approach, the expressive writing, and the theories that show how the social component in writing sets the basis and grounds that build the initial skills required for academic writing in the early stages of education and literacy, so for further intentions in the future, academic life is successful. Academic writing bestows people a dilemma of style and purpose because its style often models a conflict of identity where purposes for the use of the self is often not accepted and in which the academic discourse claims arguments and factual support of the exposed ideas. Let me explain that further. Starting with the basics, in writing and argumentation, writing is the act of forming the symbols. It's just a process where symbols have to be arranged according to what it has to involve in the communication. It's just about encoding and decoding a message of some kind. Writing is not language. We have to understand that writing is part of the language, but not language itself. Writing is the way that we make our communication visual. And the writing systems, there are two ways to understand this, functional and symbolic. And for the purpose of this research paper and the presentation, symbolic is the part that we're going to be taking into account as it represents cultures and peoples. Furthermore, academic writing, usually defined as the writing with style and for a specific context or genre in the educational field, needs to have a background. In this sense, writing as a key element of society and cultures needs to be taken into account as the first stages. This symbolic characteristic provides the social importance of writing, so it makes it more profound in the impact of social structure. In this vein, descriptive is chosen over prescriptive, as the social writing approach is descriptive and takes real-life context and situations to make it more meaningful as students get more skills to write proficiently at the level. So social writing, affective writing, and expressive writing will make more meaningful ideas as they write in these early stages. In this way, we have to understand that writing is part of the process of literacy as well as it is reading. And of course, there are two aspects considered in literacy. These are part of the literacy as a social practice, which are autonomous and ideological model of literacy. This ideological model is preferred over the autonomous model. Why? Because the ideological model considers cultural, social, and ethnographic aspects of the local context. There are many things to be considered as this is a more humanizing model that completely agrees with the descriptive writing and leaves out the prescriptive writing style. What is important to be found at this stage is that students need to develop skills and abilities from the social approach into the academic writing, and the academic literacies athletes brings out just this perfect arena and scenario for them. It does bring awareness or raises awareness on multiple disciplines involved in academic writing context, such as transition, time management, academic integrity, academic input, and academic output. In this sense, students will develop academic cultural competency and different new and varied genres of writing, which brings argumentation, structure, information, rhetorical styles that bring out the necessary skills and abilities required at the primary level during pre-operational, concrete operational, and formal operational by students between ages 5 and 12, which would achieve some level of academic literacy, proficiency, writing, argumentation, and rhetoric composition. Here we can see that Jean Piaget's theory of cognitive development is paramount for this investigation. The cognitive and affective characteristics of the primary level learners is the primary line of attention of this research. Because learners are the focus of education, they are the ones who make the decision on what and how to learn. And because of this, the central claim of this research paper is to identify the way these essential abilities and their social aspect foundations in writing can be transferable into the academic writing style at primary levels in a bilingual private school in the Colombian setting. The findings can initially prompt the basis for understanding the way students can better acquire the necessary components and abilities for higher order critical and thinking skills needed for further academic writing proficiency and L2 later in academic life. So how does this connection among emotional filter on writing and grammar come all along so to explain what I've just mentioned as the central claim of this research paper? The creative and expressive writing creates metacognition. And of course, there are some elements of the multiple intelligences that have to be considered inside the social approach as the storytelling, for example. These factors play a key role using all this collaboration. With all this collaboration, students are able to understand better grammar rules and they are not so rejecting or they are not so apprehensive before all these rules, and they will be more likely to write in these early stages of learning. So as to remember a little bit of what have been mentioned so far is that all these factors will help the students understand better the abilities that they need to acquire for writing in the academic context. So the abilities to be developing the academic writing are much more formal than writing in the social approach. In this case, the style is different and the genre as well is different. But because the students have developed already a way to understand how to writing is important when you get to communicate and it's a social thing, then now they are able to understand and think more critically. These are the abilities that are needed for writing in academic context. Making arguments and getting the person engaged in a scholarly conversation is characterized by evidence, precise word choosing, logical organization, impersonal tone as writing in third person and not first person, critical thinking skills, which is a very important, high expected level for children to become fully literate in primary, is one of the aspects that of this research paper is looking for. And so the other way is the rhetorical composition that is used to build arguments and persuade using logos, which is logic and reasoning, ethos, credibility, and pathos, which is looking to create bridges with emotions and empathy with other people. So mostly for computing the discursive claims of value, it's been done for social, political, cultural, and public arena, in which these abilities have to be developed before they are being used. Understanding the difference between what a fact is and what fiction is at 4th grade and 5th grade is very critical, and also as persuasive writing. And another aspect, and the final aspect of this research presentation, is the primary level reading writing curricula of L1 and L2 in the Colombian context. As it has been said, there has been very little research and attention on this topic. The curriculum in Colombia and L2 has been changing many times over the last 2 decades with the intention to increase the levels of competitiveness in the international setting and attract more significant foreign investments. In this matter, Colombia's government has sought to empower education for the further and better future, just as different Latin American countries have done it in the past. In Colombia, the core objective of this program is to promote English learning throughout the national educational system, starting from primary basic education, both in public and private sectors. And of course, it is here that align with these continental trends and within the context of various international trade acts, in 2004, the Colombian government introduced the National Bilingual Program. To achieve this goal, the Colombian national government, through the Ministry of National Education, adopted a series of general measures that included the establishment of the Common European Framework of Reference in the Council of Europe, 2001, as the base document for determining the levels of English proficiency expected for students and teachers in Colombia. They look to establish those standards for teaching and learning of the English language from this framework. However, the focus on the communicative approach portrayed by the National Plan of Bilingualism, where the four skills are core but listening and speaking are prioritized, reading along with writing skills are being left behind as the second place in English as a foreign language. In this sense, many private schools have been having room to focus more on ESL, English as a second language, rather than English as a foreign language. One of the flaws seen here is that there's not a clear policy that aligns L1 and L2 standards for Colombian schools, private and official sectors. And in these primary levels, the Common European Framework international standards were not thought to support the Colombian L1 Spanish National Curricular Plan. Schools have to find a way to align themselves with these standards. So among these ideas, it is clear that it is paramount the need of policy making to differentiate and align standards in both L1 and L2. So as a conclusion and to wrap up, the main aim is to open up the possibility to find answers on how children in the early years of education in primary level develop their writing skills and accordingly to their local environment in Colombia, but considering the world of today, a bilingual school set in the primary section and the way that L1 abilities can be transferred into the L2 academic writing. Therefore, this is the theoretical framework that permeates all aspects of this investigation. Thank you very much.